and welcome to Home Recording 101. I'm Ren, and I'm going to be your host for today's episode. Today we're on episode 3 of our series dealing with the equipment that you're going to need to record at home. Today we're going to talk about I/O devices. So what do you need to have to start with? First of all, let's look at what a simple unit might look like. This is an MAudio M-Track. This is an old unit. It's probably 4 years old or so. It's a 2-channel recording system. You can run 2 mics, a mic and an instrument, 2 instruments, but only 2 inputs at a time. It has stereo outputs on the back, MIDI on the back, the USB plug-in on the back. On the top, it's got input gain control here. It has a headphone jack with headphone level here. You can add, make it a stereo or mono sound, 48 volt phantom. It has mic and line switching for impedance on both channels, and it has a 3-prong cable for microphones. It also has a guitar line cable input on each channel. So that's what an I/O looks like. So you plug your cable in, set your level, hit record, and it brings the sound into your computer. On the back, the stereo outputs feed to your studio monitor, so once you've recorded, you can listen back to what you heard over your speakers. So that's what an I/O device kind of looks like. Now, what I want to do is talk about what you need to have to start with. So just so you can kind of get an idea of what these run and what they look like and what they do, I'm going to show you a couple of options. But first I want to talk about bit rate and sample rate. And again, these are really technical terms that you really don't need to get wrapped up in per se. But the bit rate of your recording device really only says how much dynamic range you can use. In other words, what is the lowest level you can record and the loudest level you can record. Sample rate is exactly this. It is the highest possible frequency that can be recorded. So, for instance, right now the human can hear between 20 hertz on the low end and 20 kilohertz or 20,000 hertz on the top end. So all of these recording devices are going to have ranges from 44.1 kilohertz ranging up to 192 kilohertz. So there's a theorem that says that the actual range or maximum recording frequency you can attain is half of your sample rate. So if your sample rate is, for instance, 44.1, that means that the maximum frequency that you can record is 22.5 kilohertz, or 22,500, which is right at the top end of the hearing range. And on the low range, 20 hertz. So why would we need to have any more when we're recording audio? Basically what it does is it increases the high-end definition that you can work with. I don't really know that there's a lot of application for 192 hertz recording, other than the fact that it just takes up a lot of disk space. So for my ear, I like to use 48K and 24-bit recording as my platform. I know a lot of people that are more than happy with 44.1 and 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit. And actually every CD that's manufactured, that's what the net outcome is. Everything is mixed down to 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit. So that's that in a nutshell, and really all you need to think about and worry about. So let's look at a couple of different I/Os. First off, I want to look at the Focusrite Scarlett. Let's move that out of the way. This is a really good entry-level piece of machinery. The Focusrite Scarlett is a 2-in, 2-out unit, and it has up to 192 kilohertz um, frequency response or sample rate, and 24-bit bit rate. That's it, 24-bit rate. So on the front of this unit, you can see that it has two combination units. And this unit itself, you can actually use a 3-pin XLR or a 1/4-inch instrument cable in the same thing. You can also see right next to it that there is a line instrument switch. So you can switch between mic and line. Also, the little round coder on the top that's in green on this channel is your gain adjustment to adjust the loudness of your input channel. Channel 2 is virtually the same thing. This unit uses a system called direct monitoring that will combine the actual input sound directly from the unit into the headphones, mixing it with the USB return from your DAW. So if you have latency issues on your DAW, this might give you a truer picture of the sound in the proper time alignment, so that you can make sure everything's in the right timing. It has a monitor gain or a loudness knob. The big knob right there lets you turn up and down your speakers. It also has a headphone jack with a loudness knob that you can manipulate there. Let's look at the back panel on this. This is really a simple back panel. This has left and right outputs. This is what goes to your studio monitors so you can hear what comes out of your system. And it has a USB connector to connect to your computer, and that's it. This is a USB powered device, so you don't need to have a power cord. This does not have any MIDI in and out. So if you've got an external MIDI device that does not use USB, you will not be able to utilize it with this I/O device. You might have to buy a separate plug-in unit or a separate piece of hardware to run that. So that's the Focusrite, and you can see it's got a retail price of $199, street value $149. So really reasonably priced. Now, another really neat thing about all of these I/O devices is that all of them come with some form of an entry-level DAW or digital audio workstation. This one in particular comes with Pro Tools first, which is designed especially for the Focusrite Scarlett line of products. It's an entry-level line for Pro Tools, limited functionality, but it's a good place to start if you're just getting started with the recording at home. So that's the Focusrite. The next one I want to show you is a product by Tascam. Tascam has been making quality products in recording for decades. The first recording unit I have was a Tascam Portastudio 144, which was a 4-track cassette recording system. In other words, you could record 4 independent discrete tracks at different times and mix them into a stereo output. So Tascam is a pioneer in recording electronics. This is the USB 2.2. It is a USB audio connection, and it also has MIDI, and we'll talk about that in a second. So on the front of this one, let's get a straight shot. On the front of this, you can see it has 48-volt phantom power, which the other Scarlett also had. Phantom power is important to know because if you're using a condenser mic as opposed to a dynamic mic, and we're going to talk about that down the road as well, if you're using a condenser mic, you have to have phantom power. So that's really important to make sure that your I/O has this. So this is 2 in, 2 out. This also has the combination 3-pin and 1/4-inch input, has mic and line switching, has a signal gain input change, and also has a peak limiter, which is nice. The other one that we looked at, the Scarlett, again, if you look on the front, you can see it's got a peak meter here where if you go pink or if you go into the red, your input's too loud. So that's how you know. This has a light that goes on and lets you know which is the peak light. So you have 48-volt phantom power, you've got your input jack, and you've got mic line switching. on the front. This has a similar thing that the Focus Scarlett did, in that you can change the balance of what you're monitoring from your computer input to the input from the device itself, and a range of sweeping, or a sweeping mix between them. In other words, you can turn this little knob that says input computer and hear more computer or more input from the box itself. The line out is your studio monitor level, and it has an input for headphones and a headphone loudness knob. Let's look at the back. Again, now this one has a DC input for 5 volt. So this one is going to require that you have it plugged in for it to operate. There's a USB jack to connect to your computer. And then you'll see there's a MIDI in and out. So if you've got an external keyboard, synthesizer, piano, whatever that has a MIDI output, you can plug it into the input on this and control software instruments that you might have in your computer. This has also a balanced left and right line output that goes directly to your studio monitors for your speakers. And that's this system. Now this one also is $199.99. The difference here is that this only goes to 96 kilohertz instead of 192 and 24-bit quality. So again, matter of preference. Do you need 192 kilohertz? No, you don't. So for the same price, again, it's a really good option for recording. And my recommendation is that you get a few different friends that do this and get feedback from them and learn what they like. Let's look at the next one that I want to talk about. This is the new version of the unit that I held up earlier. This is the MAudio 2x2 M-Track. This is a 2-channel input device as well. Let's kind of look at what the functionality is here. On the front, you have a 48 volt phantom power switch. You have a headphone jack. You have a headphone level, and you have the same mix control functionality, USB to direct, that you do on the other 2 IOs. So you can mix your input from the box and the input coming back out of a computer. It also has the main speaker level, and each channel has a gain switch or a gain knob to adjust your input level, and a little bit better of a monitoring system or a metering system in terms of your input levels. It gives you a little clearer picture of where your input level is. If you're only hitting the low green knob, then you probably need to turn it up a little bit. If you're hitting like right at the -3 into the orange and kind of hitting there every once in a while, you're in good shape. You've got a good level. If you hit the red, you're too loud, turn everything down. So that's the front end of this one. On the back, it gives you the mic line dual jacks, again, the XLR 1/4-inch combo jacks, a main left and right output for your speakers, and a MIDI in and a MIDI out, as well as a USB 3 connection port. So USB 3 is backwards compatible to 2. So that if you've got a computer that has only a 2, it'll work. You're fine. Don't worry about it. So that's the MAudio device. This is a retail price of $299 and $149. This has up to 192 kilohertz and 24-bit conversion. Like the Tascam, these come with Steinberg Cubase LE, which is Cubase's entry-level recording device. I use Cubase primarily in my production work and love it. I love the way it works. I love everything about it. The entry-level Cubase LE is a really good system to get started with, and it comes bundled with the hardware device if you get the MAudio or the Tascam unit. So those are a couple of really good options. So the Focusrite, you get the Pro Tools entry level. The Tascam and MAudio, you get the Cubase entry level. The final one I want to show you is the PreSonus 2i6. And what this is a Again, it's a 2-channel recording system. It's basically like all the other ones. It has 2 combo jacks right on the, or combo inputs right on the front, mic line or microphone cable, instrument cable. It has line switching. It has 48-volt phantom power switching. It lets you A/B in your headphones between 2 different Q mixes. Gives you your mic and line input trim controls and your main monitor output level controls. On the back, let's have a look there. It has your headphone ins, or your headphone jack, your main output left and right for your studio monitors. This has 2 additional line outs that you can use to send to a headphone monitor amp and have a second mix of a headphone mix if you're recording with more than one person and they want a different mix than you like. This also has a MIDI in and out and a USB 2 connection. It's USB powered, so it doesn't require any power cable. This is 192 hertz or 192 kilohertz with 24-bit maximum capacity, and it comes with PreSonus Studio One, which is this is the artist level, which is their entry level. And again, it's a really nice DAW, very functional, plenty of stuff to work with. Now, for the extra line outs, you're going to pay a little bit more. Instead of $199.95 like the others were at retail, this is $259.95 with a street value of $199.95. So again, for a couple $100, you're going to get a great input device that'll work with any computer that you get, and it'll also provide you with a digital audio workstation that you can record to at no extra cost. So those are some really good functionalities. If you have any questions about I/O devices, I'm not really going to get into any more detail on this because there's so many available that do so many different things. 4-channel, 8-channel, 16-channel, 32-channel. I mean, you can really go hog wild with this and spend a ton of money. But at our level, starting off and building a beginning level recording unit, these are perfect. Under $200, and you're going to have everything that you need. So I hope it was informative. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at info@arencreative.com with any questions that you have. I'll be happy to answer them for you. I will answer all emails submitted as well, so please know that. I hope this was beneficial and informative. I hope that you had a really great day today. Happy recording, and we'll see you next time when we talk about DAWs.